How's it going, everyone? It's episode 34, Konnex TV. I have the amazing Matt Stillman. He's a good friend of mine. He's considered one of the best in the industry at his market. He's a really someone inspirational to look up to and chat with and get to know better. Matt is someone that's involved in Airbnb. He's a realtor, someone you can reach out to for help. So I want to introduce to the show today, Matt Stillman. Matt, how's it going today?
Going great, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Definitely been looking forward to connect with you ever since our trip to Vegas for the STR Nation meetup. That was a great one. But yeah, man, I've been super busy. I'm under contract right now. I got 14 more units we're working on. One's a 12-unit resort, lakefront. Should be pretty awesome. And beyond that, we started to get into some development this year. So we're doing our first two development test projects. Those are tough. We knew it would be tougher than our normal rehabs, but it's going well. And beyond that, we're launching our coaching right now. We started doing consulting last year. We have a turnkey Airbnb business where we find people properties. We will manage them. We will furnish them, get them all up and running here in Michigan. And that's been a great business that really took off. Between owned and managed, we're approaching the number 60. So it's definitely grown a lot. And we just kind of love what we do. We're getting way more bold in our themes and designs. We're working on, figuring out how do you keep the longevity going amongst, as we were talking about, like Airbnb bust rather, sorry. We're seeing that more though, honestly, in the Sun Belt states than the Midwest. That's why I think the Midwest is still a fantastic option for people looking to invest. I think even in your area, I think that's a good move too. Because it's still not as saturated as like Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, things like that. But that's largely what we've been doing right now. And obviously I'm looking to share that knowledge with a lot of other people this year. So that's what's happening.
Wow, seems incredible. You always got so many projects going on. How do you juggle all of it at the same time?
A lot of delegation, a lot of trust and respect with our team. Generally speaking, like my wife's taken up the co-hosting and management side. She's incredible. She's been a super host since she started. We've been doing Airbnbs for 4 years. We started co-hosting and setting up turnkey Airbnbs about 2 years ago for other people. So between owned and managed, like she's handling most of that. My mortgage company, for my mortgage brokerage, we specialize in short-term rental financing specifically. We don't have all the janky fees that you guys all have seen and the under promising, actually the over promising and under delivering. We actually like to perform. So if you're ever looking for mortgage stuff too, reach out. But I got my partner Byron. He's been running that. He's been doing a phenomenal job. We have the long-term property management company. We've got about 100 units under contract with that. Well, under management rather. So we're doing long-term as well. The real estate brokerage, we're at about 70 agents right now, and I'm still teaching them every single day. We have our award party coming up this next 2 weeks. So I'm putting together the awards for that, the ceremony, all that. So yeah, and with that group, I have my right hand, Andy. She's been hugely helpful with running that company. So yeah, it's just as you grow and scale, you got to grow your teams just as much. Like your business cannot be the only thing. Your business of incoming clients cannot be the only thing that grows. You need to have some kind of ratio to support that staff and that business need. So luckily, I've been able to establish that and build teams around that. Now we're actually starting to offer done for you VA services because we're pretty good at finding good VAs.
Wow, it's so incredible. I mean, you've accomplished so much, and I definitely want to expand on that, but I want to start with the origin story. Okay, the always famous, or everyone wants to know, how'd you get started? How did you get to this level? You have all these properties. I would consider you in the top percentage of realtors and Airbnb, but how did this all even happen to you, man? Where did you grow up and how did you get involved in this stuff?
Great question, man. Thank you. Generally speaking, I grew up rough, man. We grew up in the heart of Detroit. If I recall correctly, we were robbed almost 20 times by the time I was 14. And the last time we got robbed was actually Christmas Eve, stole all the Christmas presents. We were so broke, and I was living with my mom, single parent mom. She ran out to, I think it was CVS or Rite Aid, the pharmacy store, that morning to go get us gifts. And I was 14, so I was, I didn't have this back then. I hardly have this now. But what she did, she went and bought aftershave because that's about all she could afford as a gift and find as a gift for me. And I'll never forget, I got mad at her for wasting the money on something I couldn't use. It was a weird kid thing, it was just a tough time that day. But we moved out. I ended up going through U of M for college. Got a good job at Quicken Loans. And then I finally, things kind of came together. They told me, hey, if you bust your tail, you can become a six-figure earner. And I was like, well, how long will that take? They said 5 years. So I busted my tail pretty much the moment I got there, and I started making six figures in my first 6 months. And so from there, it grew into a $250,000 a year job where I was leading and managing. And I was also looking at all these tax returns with all these people that have rentals, right? And I'm looking at these rentals like, how are they making so much money? How do they get these properties? And I go, if all these people have been so successful in creating cash flow for themselves, like, why can't I? I'm pretty smart. I'm not stupid. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I'm pretty smart. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what? I need to start trusting my gut. I got together with one of my best friends, Miles. I said, Miles, I want to buy a property. You want to partner with me? He says, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. So we go half in on a property in Madison Heights, Michigan. And boom, it worked out. And you know what? I was scared. I was worried. I was like, what if it doesn't work out? What if I screw it up for me, my partner? What if I pick the wrong property? It worked out. So then we bought a second one. He goes, hey, this one's not hurting us either. Heck, we're making money. And buy the third and the fourth and then the 10th. And after a while, now I have almost 50 owned. And I don't think about it anymore. So the key is getting past your first mental hurdles, finding like the charisma and the grit to push through and like be like very thoughtful with what your pursuit is. And honestly, for me, it was the catalyst of just never wanting to be robbed again, living in a better area, making a better life for myself and my family. So that's what really got me here. And then just the experience of getting to know what is out there in the world, associating with, higher net people, getting to know you guys that are like serial entrepreneurs and ready to go and really connect and make big things happen. I'd say that's really kind of the come up story, more or less, kind of condensed into a few minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though the location you grew up wasn't exactly the best environment, you didn't have the resources, the support and everything, you turned something that was kind of negative into something great, and you used it as motivation to get better in your life. And that's a lot of right now, people are going through a lot of tough times. So hearing a story that's relatable is always a great thing. Just curious, that first property you got, you remember how much you paid for it, the rent and the price for it? How much did it cost to get into the business? 5 grand, 10 grand?
That house, I think it was like 60,000 we spent on it. It was just a 2-bed house. And I think we put 15 into it, and it was rented for years. I think two people. One was my college fraternity brother, John, and then another guy who unfortunately passed away there. We just took it back over probably 2 months ago, and we're rehabbing it. We put about 25 into it this time, but it's going to be an Airbnb now. So with that being said, it's funny that my first property is now being converted into an Airbnb. So that's going to be another unit for us. We're expecting it to do quite well. I think over the whole time that whole property, maybe we're going to be at 90,000 by the time it's all said and done. And I think at 95, I guess. I think we'll end up bringing in about 3,500 gross per month. So it should be a good cash on cash play here overall.
Wow, it sounds like an excellent business strategy and plan that you put together. And just curious, like when you got started, did you know where you wanted to go? Did you have the, like you mentioned, your partners and stuff? How did it start growing and scale? And did anybody help you? A mentor, a guide, books, anybody come into your life that took you to the next level?
I wish I could say yes. At that time, no. The only thing I had going for me was, the typical search of, website threads, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what a great book. And probably Bigger Pockets, checking out what the basics are. The funny thing about Bigger Pockets, I always kind of make a joke now, like Bigger Pockets is great for the launch, but it's not great for like the longevity. Like it doesn't necessarily teach you. I think people they kind of suckle to it, and they think that you have to just keep being in that community before you can actually launch. But I think for me, it was getting past the hurdle that I can I wasn't sure I could be successful in real estate as choosing an investment. But once I was able to create that, and that's the thing, almost every, maybe you feel this way on your first investment, but you go, I hope I don't get burned. You almost start with this, I hope I don't screw this up.
Mhm.
And I see that, like I just had a couple friends, one of our masterminds and one in our coaching group go, haven't been burned yet. That's the common thing you hear. And it's like the presumption, the fear that something's going to go awry. Like, I think the key is you mitigate for all those factors that might cause that damage or the loss or it being a failed investment, right? You do as best as you can up front. But after that, maybe you pitch it to a couple other people that are, advanced or pro level, and you go, hey, would you have invested in this? If they say yes, and I'll buy it from you. If you don't buy it, that's a pretty good sign, right? So I'd say from there, it's about just continually betting on yourself and the proof of success you had from your very first successful deal. And from there, you're probably going to have one that's going to hurt you. But hopefully it's not your first three. And I think if you get through three and you've got it going, you're setting a good pace and you're making some good decisions for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, everybody, thinks, life is going to go great, but sometimes you run into problems. And so just to further, to expand on that, just curious, any big major things that happen in your career? You ever lose a property, you have something catch on fire? Just share one story of something that didn't go exactly the way you thought it would.
Probably my first flip, actually. My first flip, we actually got, this is where cities can be really meddlesome. We had a property, it was in Michigan. I'll just keep it simple. We had a pre-inspection, we had our quote come in, everything was looking good. And then the city inspector came out and goes, hey, I'm a little worried about the foundation here. It was a crawl space foundation. He goes, I want an open floors inspection. I go, what do you mean? He's like, I want you to rip up the floor and the subfloor and show me the joists of this property. And I go, that's going to be very expensive. Now I got to like redo my work, all that. And he's like, well, A, you shouldn't have been working on it at all anyway, even demo, but B, you have to do it. And I go, well, isn't that considered working on it? If I rip it open, he's like, just get it done. He winks at me and says, just get it done. It's fine. I get it done. I call him out. I say, hey, here you go. He goes, hey, great job. Yeah, I do want you to fix this one thing, but nice job. Looks like you did a really clean job. He's like, kudos. Just the next day, I get certified mail. I get a misdemeanor from the city saying you worked on a property without permission, without a permit. And I call the guy and I go, did you literally just set me up and give me, a criminal infraction for working on my property after you wink, wink, nudge me saying you have to get it done anyway? He goes, hey, you shouldn't have worked on it. I told you need a permit. And it was that moment. That was the first issue with that property. Then the foundation had some other issues. We ended up actually coming out profitable on it. But in terms of tension and how long that project took, it was absolutely painful. And in hindsight, I would say whenever I buy crawl space or slab properties, I always have a foundation expert check it out. Most of the time I do. But for a while there, it wasn't always.
So you learn from these lessons, and you got to be careful with these city inspector guys. You never know if they're trying to set you up. So to go further into your business, what you were talking about earlier, you expanded, you started scaling. So how did you end up in, I know you became a realtor and things like that. So how did you decide you're going to give back to people also? Now you've got all these properties. How do you engage with the community? How do you help people? I know you have a very successful channel on Instagram. So how's that going?
It's good, man. I'd say, I started while I was at Quicken. That's when I started looking to get my licensing. And then I went to United Wholesale Mortgage when I finished my licensing, became an agent. Generally found that my brokers that I was working under were not helpful. They weren't very pro investing. And I checked out a few more brokerages. They still weren't kind of doing what I needed. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go open my own brokerage. It's more pro investment. And now, we've grown tremendously. There's a lot of investors in this space now, and my place is probably the best home for them. So it's been really good to see Michigan attract, our company, Woodward Square Realty, WSR, retract all the investor focused agents. We do some high-end boutique homes as well. So even with our new build stuff that we're working on right now, it's really, really fun and exciting. But beyond that, as I got heavier into real estate training and coaching as a real estate broker, and I got good at the investment, I started teaching the investment side, and the Airbnbs became such a hot topic the last few years, right? And as I went to the couple of the conferences I did last year, including the one we met at, I started realizing a lot of the guys on stage didn't have the units owned or managed that I do, and it was very baffling to me. I was like, I felt like somebody like a groundhog that's been under just kind of tunneling all my tunnels. And I kind of came out one day and realized I did pretty good. So right now, what I'm trying to do is really share what my knowledge base is from like an experience, but like genuine like position. I don't do the and I'm gonna make you millions. Oh no, I'm gonna crush it. I'm Randy Savage. I don't do that. I think it's too much. I think it's over the top. You really want like a truthful answer, and you want to engage in my community, or apply to be in our coaching group. You can. We're going to have an actual group chat app where you guys can just engage, kind of throw out questions. We're going to have weekly one-on-ones, weekly group chats rather, video style. And then for the actual one-on-one course, we're going to go from everything. We're going to be teaching the BRRRR method and its application to Airbnb. We're going to hit on co-hosting. I'm going to talk to you about what I like and don't like about arbitrage. I'm not a big arbitrage guy. I do think it has merit, but I am not the guy for you if you want to be learning arbitrage. There's so many great arbitrage teachers out there. My issue with arbitrage is it doesn't really teach and create wealth. That's my biggest hiccup with it. I did do arbitrage. I did well, but I won't do it again. So that's largely what we're doing these days. We're focused on that. We really want to like triple down on a very close-knit community that wants to seriously grow their portfolio. If you're looking for just kind of the new shiny object, you just want to try Airbnb, I'm probably not a good coach for you. I'm a guy that's going to drag you through building a portfolio, and you're going to like it or you're going to leave.
Wow, that's amazing. So when did you start the coaching thing? How many students do you have? How do people get involved? How do they contact you?
Yeah. So I started consulting last year. I started doing some light coaching toward Q4. And now we're doing the full course launch right now. We're hoping to have it launched fully by March 1st. So we're starting to take applications. We have a group chat on Discord and WhatsApp that we kind of communicate with everybody. We give them tips and tricks, how-tos. We kind of talk about their personal situations. I offer actual deals for Michigan. I set them up with, even like agents as well, agents that are interested in doing it, or maybe they have clients, they don't know where to put them. We're doing referral fees for them too, so they make money on the deal. So there's a lot of ways we're trying to create an ecosystem of money making or strength in numbers when it comes to underwriting and understanding how to create real success with Airbnb, especially when you apply the BRRRR method. And that's when it gets pretty damn exciting. And also when the BRRRR method can fail you, even if you get 100% cash out refi, like of your initial capital. I'm telling you, some people get so caught up on, man, I got to get all my money out. But you know what? I've seen people do it when they're actually netting $100 a month. So all that work and you're netting $100 a month with Airbnb, that's a failed asset. That's hardly worth keeping. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of reasons to be more conscious, and we're actually building out a calculator. We have a calculator you can use. I'm trying to make one that's more internet based. So you can actually drag and drop a link of what the property is. It auto pulls it and then extracts the AirDNA and STR insights and pretty much automatically underwrites it. So I'm gonna work with my team for about 6 months on that one. We're gonna have some pretty amazing things coming up. And yeah, and thank you again for the kudos on the growth on social, especially Instagram. TikTok's not growing as well as I'd like to, but our Instagram kind of had a blow up moment. It's been exciting, but I'm just thankful that I have people that want to actually hear me talk, and even better yet, like be a part of the coaching. So we're hoping to coach probably 30 to 40 students this year. That's probably what we're shooting for. We only have about 7 right now, but that's because we kind of soft launch. We just want to get a test of what they like about the course material, retailer it, and then we launch officially in March, which is less than a month away. I'm confident it will be probably the best program out there. And I'm not just saying that. I think a lot of these, that's the thing. I'm a real estate broker, I'm a mortgage broker, and I own plenty of Airbnbs. Like to be able to come from that position and really teach real brass tacks numbers. I'm going to teach KPIs, like cash on cash, IRR, NOI, these things that sometimes people kind of skirt over. They go, oh yeah, I mean, you want 30% cash on cash. You want like make sure that you're when you do your cash out, you're getting that full 75% and you're under. Like there's more to it than that. It's not just some random clickbait number, right? You want to really understand what that means, because the more cash out you get, the higher your mortgage payment gets, and that lowers your NOI. So it's like you need to understand how those metrics are all affected. So that's what I want to teach.
Yeah, so you actually have the knowledge and background. I mean, you're a mortgage broker, a real estate broker, and you own properties. That's something that somebody wants to find out more about. The fact that you have that actual skill set, I mean, it's so valuable to people. So I kind of want to pack into the big debate of this, I guess, the year of the century is the rental arbitrage owning property game. Some people don't have enough money for the down payment, so they decide to just sign the lease. But long term, you're saying not exactly the best idea, because you'll never actually own anything. You just have a little bit of cash flow. So I'm just curious, is that really your feeling on that?
So I actually think while arbitrage is good from like approaching it in the sense of not having much capital up front, I think what people are not really, I guess, reaching out to do is partnering. That's how I did my first deal. That's how I've done many deals. Like I'm very transparent about that. I'm very transparent with my numbers. I'll show you how I can show you how I can make $10,000 gross on a property, but maybe my holding cost on that is $5,000. So it's a much different number when you're like, I made $10,000. Like, man, that guy made 10 grand on one property. He's got 30 properties, like 50 properties, whatever it is. Like, it's not quite accurate. You got to understand your supply costs are also much higher than people give credit to. So going back to the arbitrage thought, I want people to stop thinking that you can only do arbitrage as a kickoff method. I want you to really consider doing a partnering method. And one of the things I'm actually teaching in the course and in our group is partnering. I'm trying to actually teach everybody the same foundation of learning, so they all have the same experience, the same kind of knowledge base, and they have the same mentor, that where when they approach a deal and they consider doing a partnership, they're lowering their financial risk, they're lowering their long-term risk of the property should it fail, but they're also getting a chance to make like educated, like majority decision, like moves on whether or not to pull the trigger on this, right? So let's say your average Airbnb, let's say between furnishing and down payment, let's say you're at 60 grand and you're buying a $250,000 property that's going to net $1,500 a month or something. Let's say that's generally the metric, right? Like if you have 30 grand and somebody else has 30 grand, that becomes a lot more consumable. Now, let's say you have four partners on that. Each person has to have 15. At that point, you're pretty much playing the arbitrage game. But here's the best part. Like, yeah, maybe you're only getting a quarter of 1,500 net per month, but now you actually have real experience. Now you've tested the actual buying of the asset, and now you're getting bigger tax benefits because you own the asset, right? And that's the other thing. Now you're getting the appreciation. You don't get the appreciation when you arbitrage, right? So all these other like not, I don't want to call them micro factors, and they're not macro, but they can be depending on if you buy like a $1 million property per se, and it appreciates 15%, that 150 grand when you sell it, split 4 ways, that ain't bad. That ain't bad, right? So I really want to emphasize the power of buying, especially in such a stifled market right now. Like everybody's freaking out about, oh my God, what if it's going to crash? Dude, since 2018, I've had people that are very smart, very experienced, been going through all the crashes, 50, 60-year-old people that have lost their shirt in 2008. They're like, it's coming. Every 10 years, the cycle comes. And what happened? 2018, nothing, right? If anything, we thought COVID was going to be it. And COVID definitely had some retractions and challenges. And even in the last year, with some of the mortgage rates ticking up, that also caused a retraction. But guess what? We're all still here. Like we've had some recession, we have some factors that are definitely hurting our economy. But pricing, especially for the first and second time home buyer market, like for most homes, it's still maintaining. Now, if you're in the supermarkets, supermarkets, the higher end markets, let me put it like that, probably 500 plus, you definitely see more of a retraction. But one of my things that I'm actually doing is I'm targeting buying those because I think you can get a bigger discount. If I can buy a house that was worth 700, 800 when the market was hot, now I can buy it for 400 to 500. I'm doing that. And guess what? I'm sleeping 14 to 16 people because it's usually a larger home. And now I'm capturing this market that most people don't even get a chance to touch. Because when you actually look at the stats on how much money a home can make, sleeps 0 to 2, sleeps 3 to 4, sleeps 5 to 6, sleeps 7 to 8, sleeps 9 to 10, sleeps 11 to 12, sleeps 14. It shoots back up at 14. So I actually like up to 8, whatever you buy to sleep up to 8 people, you're in a good spot. But there's that little lull until you get to 14. So I actually think that targeting those homes will give you maximum capacity, especially if you're in population dense areas. So there's all these things, all these little nuggets I want to share with my clients and my students, because I think it's great. I want to see them win. Hell, if somebody would have done this for me when I started, I can't even imagine where I would have been. But that's the thing. I can't stand the fake gurus, the fake. I got 2 Airbnbs. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to teach people at some expensive rate, and I'm like, some of those same. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen those same people fail, and their company is collapsing. I've seen some of those same people that teach arbitrage. I'm telling you, if you actually saw what's going on behind that lens when they're talking about how good everything is, their company is collapsing. Okay, and guess what they're switching to? Buying. They're switching to buying. Almost every big arbitrage guy ends up switching to buying because it's not as sustainable. It really just isn't. So you can fight me to the death on that. That's how I feel.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. I've seen even for myself in the markets, a lot of people are going out of business. People who wanted to get in the game, they're just renting, they just drop out, like, a lot of people say. But and this is where I believe mentors and people come in handy when you're kind of in trouble. You want to reach out to people. So talking about, if you had these people in the back, current mentors you have now, like anyone you're talking about that helps you, and also the partnerships. Second part question: how do you get those partnerships with some of these people? How do you even approach them if no experience, and even approaching mentors too? What's your opinion on that?
Approaching mentors. That's a good question. So I paid. Let's give you an idea, because I'm not a person that just talks about get a coach, and I don't. Last year I probably paid $25,000-$30,000 in coaching. It's February of 2023 and I'm already at 21 grand. So I firmly believe you can accelerate your knowledge base and not do a bunch of duplicated steps by working with the right coaches and mentors. Mind you, I'm not willy-nilly about it. I don't just go, I'll pick you. How about you? I'll pay you. I don't do that. I do vetting. I watch my potential coaches. I do a couple conversations and I ask them some tough questions, because why? You need to vet who you're going to spend your money on, just like an investment. It is an investment, right? And so like that's one thing I get excited about. Like I know if somebody calls me, they go, crap, this guy actually really knows his stuff. If anybody's going to coach me, it's going to be this guy. And I've been in probably 3 or 4 Airbnb masterminds, and a lot of the people in the masterminds, they like, even though it's not my mastermind, they come to me for the answers, and that's meant the world to me. So what do I look for when I do my coaching? When I look for getting coaching for myself, rather, I'm asking them, what's their success rate? What do they see in me that they think will be successful? I want them to know. I want to know that coach took a minute to really process who they're talking to, and I want to know why they want me in their course. Because somebody doesn't want you in the course, it's one thing to want somebody in the course to make money, but why do you want me? Why do you like? Because knowing why they think you'll be successful is key. But why do they want you next is another thing, because I really believe there's a chemistry that people need to have when you're working with a coach. Otherwise, it's gonna feel like talking through a lens on a Zoom call or something, right? It won't feel as tangible. It won't hit home the same. You won't be called to come join the group calls. I think that's so key. It really takes like a hardcore deep dive into this industry to really create, I guess, duplicable success. So I think that's one of the biggest things I want to emphasize there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think having that, really checking who you're talking to about your mentors is great. That's why it's so great that you have the actual background experience, Matt. I mean, you're actually a broker, you have properties yourself. So that's why I really think a lot of my audience will relate and come find you and join your thing. So I want to get closer to the end of our call and could talk about maybe what's coming up in the future for you in the next few months this year. Any big things you have plans? Are you going to do a mastermind in Michigan? I mean, what's happening this year that people could get in with you?
So that's funny. I was talking with one of my partners last night about doing a Michigan mastermind, and remember Julie George?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was talking. She actually thinks she would love to do something in Michigan too. I was talking to her about a couple of things. I think Michigan would be great. I think unfortunately, Michigan, because of Detroit and 8 Mile, the movie with Eminem, I think it has a really negative connotation, unfortunately. And people go, why would you go there? But I was even talking with Patrick from STR Nation. You know, he's a Chicago guy. Initially, he's in California now, but we were talking about how people don't understand how beautiful the Midwest can be. So I think I want to host something in spring, summer, or late summer at this rate, because I'm not going to make spring at this point. So we're pretty much looking at just higher end deals, and we are looking to get new partners on these deals. We're going to need more financing, and I think that they're very exciting deals. So we're looking for like actual good cash on cash, and you know, if they have more to offer, like in terms of skill set, we might be looking for them to be even general partners. But generally, we're looking for limited partners. If you're interested in partnering with us, you know, make sure you check out our link in bio, my Instagram, my broker Matt.
Great.
And no triple T's, no numbers. There's a lot of scammers. I probably have like 6 or 7 now that are faking to be me. Some guy named Michael L something.
That's because you're becoming so well known now. Everybody wants to copy you. So there's only one My Broker Matt. So that's at My Broker
Let me
Matt.
have this here. And I will never ask for a handout or you to wire me some random money without getting on a phone call with you. That's ridiculous. And please don't fall for that. That's ridiculous to me too. But
we'll make sure people follow you the right account. And just before we go, anything else you want to mention or say to the audience or people about what you're doing, or maybe, you know, motivation to keep going during tough times? And any last thoughts?
You know, I've seen a lot of my friends that are in the Sun Belt states. They're feeling it. They're feeling it, and you know, including like how you said, people that are doing arbitrage. Like, let this be a moment that kind of lets you know, hey, you know, you've seen what you're good and bad at in Airbnb at this point because you are a host, right? But maybe this is a pivotal moment where you go, hey, I need to switch to ownership. Maybe I need to consider partnering. And if you need a better method for attracting the right kind of partner, or somebody that has the same foundational experience or understanding of the product and real estate, then I think that like working with me, working with people like Ron, like I think that's a really good move. I think that if you work with people like us, you're going to have a much better go at finding success. And that's what we want, man. That's what we want, because I do not want to see any more friends or those associated kind of go into these things blindly and come out burned, because getting burned is the worst. It ruins your whole vibe, and you never want to touch real estate again. But that's kind of how I feel about stocks. I don't touch stocks. I just get burned on stocks. It's not my thing.
Yeah. Well, Matt, again, thank you so much for your time here. Hopefully we'll see you again on the show. And for people to find you, you have your website or a link that people can go to?
Yeah, primarily I'm using my link in bio. So check that out on my Instagram or my TikTok. And both of those handles, and YouTube actually, are all My Broker Matt, MYBROKERMATT.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt, for blessing our show. We really appreciate it. You're the best.
Thank you. You're awesome too, brother. Appreciate you. Bye.
All right.